"What the hell are you doing here?" my mother-in-law snapped when I came back to my apartment after the divorce. My ex-husband's sister had already thrown my things out into the hallway. I had to put those arrogant people in their place. And before we begin, I ask you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and enjoy listening. The building's front door slammed shut behind her, and Ashley froze on the threshold of her own apartment. The key wouldn't turn in the lock. Someone had changed the cylinder. Voices came from inside, the clinking of dishes, the TV playing. Ashley stood there with a travel bag in her hands, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Marina, throw these rags out too. No point hoarding junk." Her mother-in-law's voice. In her apartment. A month after the divorce. Ashley slowly lowered the bag to the floor and leaned against the wall. Her heart was pounding so loudly it felt like the whole stairwell could hear it. How? Why? She had made it perfectly clear to David that he had to move out. She had given him 2 weeks to pack when she left on a business trip. 2 weeks turned into a month. The project dragged on. And now. But before I tell you what happened next, we need to go back 7 years. Back to where it all began. Back to when Ashley Frost still had no idea what betrayal by the people closest to you really meant. The town of Riverside was tucked between rolling hills, 200 miles from Chicago. Population, 40,000. 3 schools, 1 movie theater, and a permanent problem with jobs. Young people left at the first chance they got. The elderly lived out their days in crooked old houses, and those who stayed worked at the only major employer in town, a furniture factory. Ashley Frost was born here 23 years ago, into a family that could hardly be called well off. Her father, Victor, worked at that same factory as a shop foreman. Her mother, Linda, spent her whole life behind the counter of a grocery store. There was never enough money, but somehow they managed. Ashley was an only child. Not because her parents didn't want more kids, but because after her birth her mother became seriously ill, and doctors strictly forbade her from getting pregnant again. Maybe that's why all their love and attention went to Ashley alone. "You're all we have," her mother often said, stroking Ashley's hair. "Your father and I will do anything for you. Just study hard, get out of here, don't repeat our life." Ashley studied. Not because her parents forced her to, but because she understood that education was her only chance to change her life. She saw her mother come home after 12-hour shifts with swollen legs and a sore back. She saw her father coughing from the wood dust that had eaten into his lungs after 20 years at the factory. And she decided, firmly, that her life would be different. Ashley wasn't a straight A student in school. A solid B student, with the occasional A in the humanities and just as occasional CS in physics and chemistry. But she was persistent. If she didn't understand something, she'd sit up until night figuring it out. If something didn't work, she tried again and again. "Ashley, why are you so stubborn?" her classmates laughed. "Forget this math, come hang out with us instead." But Ashley didn't forget it. She knew exactly what she wanted. After graduation, Chicago, a good university, then a job, a career, her own apartment. Not a rented room with cockroaches, but her own place, with renovations, furniture, and a view of something beautiful out the window, not a dumpster and garages. The dream seemed impossible. Where would a simple girl from Riverside get money for a Chicago apartment? But Ashley believed. Stubbornly, absolutely believed. After high school, she applied to several universities in Chicago. Her parents scraped together their last savings for her trip to the big city. Bus fare, food, a dorm room for the entrance exams. Her father even sold his old motorcycle that had sat in the shed for years. "Dad, don't," Ashley begged. "You wanted to restore it." "Forget it," he waved her off. "The metal can wait. Your life can't." Ashley passed the exams. Not brilliantly, but well enough to get a state-funded spot at one of the economics universities. Not the most prestigious, but decent. When she saw her name on the acceptance list, she cried right there in the admissions hallway. Some woman came up, handed her a tissue, and said, "Oh, come on, girl, this is happiness. You're supposed to cry from grief, not joy." But Ashley cried. Because it was happiness. Huge, unbelievable happiness she had earned herself. Her student years flew by in a blur. A dorm room with 3 roommates, lectures until evening, night shifts at part-time jobs. Ashley took any work she could find. She handed out flyers, worked as a promoter, a waitress, a sales associate. Sometimes she slept only 4 hours a night, but she didn't complain. Every dollar she earned, she saved. "Ashley, come to the club with us," her roommates would say. "Stop working so hard, your youth is passing by." "Youth isn't going anywhere," Ashley replied. "And money doesn't earn itself." The girls thought she was crazy, but Ashley just smiled. She knew what she wanted and kept moving toward it. In her 3rd year, something happened that changed her life. Actually, 2 things. First, her grandmother died. The only grandmother she had, who lived in a village 100 miles from Riverside and whom Ashley saw maybe once a year. Her grandmother left her an old country house and a small plot of land. "Ashley, what are you going to do with that?" her mother asked over the phone. "The house is falling apart. You'll get pennies if you sell it." But Ashley didn't sell it right away. First, she went to see it. The house really was in terrible shape. The roof leaked, the walls leaned, the stove was crumbling. But the land was good. And the location wasn't bad. A river nearby, a forest, a decent road. Ashley spent a month looking for a buyer. She called every real estate agency, posted ads everywhere. And she found one. A Chicago businessman who wanted to build a summer house there offered good money by Riverside standards for the land and the wreck of a house. Almost $60,000. For Ashley, it was a fortune. She put the money in the bank to earn interest and kept working. The second event happened 6 months after the sale. Ashley landed an internship at a large Chicago company that produced household cleaning products. Not the most glamorous industry, but the pay was good, and the prospects seemed huge. The internship lasted 3 months. Ashley worked in the marketing department, analyzed the market, prepared reports, helped senior colleagues with presentations. The work was monotonous and often boring, but Ashley gave it everything she had. She knew this was her chance to secure a position at the company. And she was noticed. "Frost, come in," the department head said one day, a heavy-set man with tired eyes. Ashley walked in, expecting the worst. Maybe she'd messed something up, maybe a report was wrong. "Sit down," he pointed to a chair. "When do you graduate?" "In a year." "Want to stay with us?" "After your degree, I'll hire you full-time." "The salary will be..." He named a number that took Ashley's breath away. "So, what do you think?" Ashley agreed. Of course she did. It was 3 times more than she earned from all her side jobs combined. Her final year of school passed like a fog. Thesis, exams, sleepless nights with textbooks. And work at the same time. Ashley was already officially on staff and gave it her all. After graduation, she rented a tiny room in a shared apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. She couldn't stay in the dorm anymore, her status wouldn't allow it. After all, she was a junior manager at a serious company. The room was small and dark, the neighbors loud and unpleasant, but it was her room. Her first place of her own, even if rented. She lived there for a year. Saved every penny, bought no new clothes, didn't go to cafes, allowed herself no irons. Just work and saving. "Ashley, you're going to burn yourself out," said her colleague Helen, who shared an office with her. "You live like a nun." "That's not normal." "It is," Ashley replied. "If you know why." She did know. She had a goal, her own apartment. And she was moving toward it. A year after graduating, Ashley had almost $150,000 in her account. Her grandmother's inheritance, plus what she'd earned, plus interest. It was enough for a down payment on a mortgage. Ashley started looking for an apartment. Slowly, carefully, studying every option. She drove all over Chicago, saw dozens of places, and finally found it. A 1-bedroom apartment in a new building in southeast Chicago. 400 square feet, 9th floor, a view of the park. The building had just been completed, no renovations yet, bare concrete. But Ashley knew immediately, this was her place. "I'll take it," she told the realtor after the very first showing. The mortgage process took a month. Endless certificates, paperwork, background checks. Ashley waited for that cherished moment. She was holding the keys to her own apartment. She was 24 years old. She stood in the middle of an empty concrete box, staring at the gray walls, and cried from happiness. Just like she had once cried in the admissions office hallway. She had her own apartment, her very own, earned with her own hands. That evening, Ashley called her parents. Her mother burst into tears. Her father was silent for a long time, and then said hoarsely, "Well done, sweetheart. We always knew you'd make it." Ashley handled the renovation herself. Well, not entirely by herself. She hired workers, but personally controlled everything. Chose materials, monitored the quality, saved wherever she could. It took 3 months to turn the concrete box into a cozy home. The result exceeded all expectations. Light-colored walls, wood-look laminate floors, a white glossy kitchen set. A small but comfortable bathroom with a shower instead of a bulky tub. And a large window with the tops of park trees visible beyond it. Wow! Helen whistled when Ashley invited her to the housewarming. "Did you win the lottery or something?" "I worked," Ashley replied simply. Helen nodded with respect. She knew how Ashley worked, how she denied herself everything extra, how she lived in that awful room, saving on everything. "Well, to your home," Helen raised her champagne glass. Ashley smiled. Home. Her home. Things were going well at work too. Ashley was promoted to senior manager, then to head of a department. Her salary grew, her responsibilities increased, but Ashley handled it. She always did. By 25, she had everything she had dreamed of as a child, a good job, her own apartment, a stable income. Only one thing was missing: her personal life. No, Ashley wasn't a recluse. She had romances, short ones, with no obligations. But nothing serious. Either there wasn't enough time, or energy, or maybe the right people just didn't come along. "Ashley, you need a decent man," her mother said over the phone. "Enough sitting alone, time is passing." "Mom, I'm 25, not 40, Ashley laughed. 40 will come before you know it, her mother sighed. Maybe she was right, maybe not. Ashley didn't think about it. She didn't have time. Everything changed on one ordinary Tuesday when a new employee joined their office. His name was David Cooper. 27 years old, a sales manager transferred from the St. Louis branch. Tall, dark-haired, with a charming smile and an open gaze. Ashley noticed him right away. He stood out from the gray office crowd. Their first meeting happened in the corporate kitchen. Ashley was making herself coffee when he walked in. "Hi, I'm David." He held out his hand. "The new guy." "Ashley." She shook his hand, noting the firm but not rough handshake. "I know, I've already heard about you. They say you're the marketing star around here." Ashley felt embarrassed. She wasn't used to compliments. "They exaggerate." "I doubt it." David smiled, and something fluttered inside Ashley. They started talking. At first, purely about work. The marketing and sales departments worked closely together, so there were plenty of reasons to interact. Gradually, work conversations flowed into personal ones. Shared lunches in the cafeteria, coffee breaks, short messages in a chat app. David turned out to be an interesting conversationalist. He read a lot, was into history, loved traveling. He talked about his trips around Europe, the cities he'd seen, the people he'd met. Ashley listened, holding her breath. Her own world was much smaller: work, home, rare outings with friends. "And where have you been?" David asked. "Besides Chicago and your hometown?" "Nowhere," Ashley answered honestly. "How is that possible?" "There was no opportunity. First school, then work, the mortgage." David looked at her with surprise, then with respect. "You know, you're amazing. You've achieved so much on your own. I couldn't have done that." Ashley shrugged. It didn't seem like anything special to her. She had just been moving toward her goal. 2 months after they met, David asked her out on a date. A real date, not a work lunch or a random coffee. "Ashley, let's go somewhere. A restaurant or a theater. Whatever you want." She wanted to. She really did. And she agreed. Their first date was at a small Italian restaurant. Pasta, wine, long conversations. David was polite and attentive. He opened doors, helped her with her coat, looked her in the eyes when she spoke. Ashley felt special. After dinner, they walked through evening Chicago. David took her hand, and Ashley didn't pull away. His palm was warm and steady. "You know, I think I'm starting to fall in love with you," he said when they stopped on a bridge over the Chicago River. Ashley was silent. Her heart was pounding like crazy. "You don't have to answer," David continued. "I just wanted you to know." She turned to him and kissed him. On her own. For the first time in her life. The next few months felt like a fairy tale. Romantic evenings, walks, movies, exhibitions. David showered her with flowers and gifts, nothing expensive, but thoughtful. A stuffed teddy bear, a book she wanted to read, a scarf in that exact color she had once mentioned in passing. "He remembers everything I say," Ashley told Helen enthusiastically. "Can you imagine? I once mentioned I like lavender, and a week later he gave me a lavender sweater." Classic honeymoon phase, Helen smirked. "We'll see what he's like in a year." Ashley waved it off. She didn't believe David would change. He seemed perfect to her. After 6 months of dating, the question of living together came up. David rented a room in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates. Not the most convenient setup for a couple. The logical decision was for him to move in with Ashley. "Are you sure?" David asked. "It's your apartment, your personal space. I don't want to impose." "I'm sure," Ashley answered. She really was sure. Or thought she was. David moved in at the beginning of spring. He brought 2 suitcases of clothes and a box of books. Ashley cleared out half the closet for him and a shelf in the bathroom. Their life together began. At first, everything was wonderful. They cooked dinners together, watched movies together, went shopping together. David turned out to be a decent cook. His signature dish was pasta carbonara, which he made on weekends. "You know, I'm so happy," Ashley said, cuddling up to him on the couch in the evenings. "I feel like I have everything." "Me too," David replied, kissing the top of her head. Problems started about 3 months later. The first warning sign was the mother-in-law. Or rather, the future mother-in-law. They weren't married yet. Gloria Cooper, a widow, mother of 2, came to Chicago to meet her son's chosen one. Ashley prepared for that meeting like for an exam. She cleaned the apartment, cooked a 3-course meal, put on her best dress. She wanted to make a good impression. Gloria arrived by train at 10 in the morning. David met her at the station and brought her by taxi. Ashley was waiting for them at the door. The first impression was strange. Gloria turned out to be a woman in her mid-50s, overweight, with dyed red hair and a sharp, evaluating gaze. She looked Ashley up and down, and Ashley felt like she'd been x-rayed. "So this is you." "Hello." Ashley tried to smile. "I'm very glad to meet you." "Uh-huh." The mother-in-law stepped inside and started inspecting the apartment. The inspection was picky. Gloria looked into every corner, touched the furniture, ran her finger over surfaces, checking for dust. "Kind of a small apartment," she remarked. "Fine for 2. But where would kids go?" "Mom, we've just started living together," David tried to intervene. "What kids?" "What do you mean? Time is passing. Ashley isn't a young girl anymore." Ashley felt heat rush to her cheeks. "Not a young girl?" "She's 25. Lunch passed in a tense atmosphere. Gloria criticized literally everything. The salad was too sour, the soup too thin, the cutlets too dry. Ashley swallowed her hurt in silence, trying to keep her composure. David kept throwing her guilty looks but didn't step in. After lunch, the mother-in-law wanted to talk to her son alone. Ashley went into the bedroom, but the voices from the kitchen were perfectly audible. "David, what kind of girl is this?" Gloria said. "Neither fish nor fowl. And the apartment, it's hers." "What is it, 400 feet?" "A joke." "Mom, the apartment is fine. And Ashley earned it herself, by the way." "So what if she did?" "That just means her parents were too poor to help." "Do you really need to get involved with someone broke?" Mom. What, Mom? I'm telling the truth. Remember Irene Sanders? She waited 3 years for you. Her father works in city administration, and she has a 3-bedroom apartment downtown. Ashley clenched her fists. She wanted to walk out there and tell that woman exactly what she thought of her. But she held back. For David. For their relationship. Gloria stayed in Chicago for 3 days. The 3 longest days of Ashley's life. Her future mother-in-law found reasons to pick on everything. Ashley's clothes, what kind of rags are these? Her job, and this is what you call a career? Her family and your parents, what, they're just ordinary people. When it was finally time to take their guest to the station, Ashley let out a breath of relief. But the relief was premature. David, think long and hard, Gloria said a goodbye, ignoring Ashley standing right there. A mother wouldn't steer you wrong. David stayed silent. After his mother left, Ashley expected David to apologize for her behavior, to say something warm, to support her. But he only shrugged. Well, Mom is Mom. You get it, right? I get it, Ashley answered, even though she didn't. Not at all. But she decided not to blow it up into a conflict. After all, his mother lived far away, they wouldn't see her often. The main thing was that she and David loved each other, everything else would work itself out. The next warning sign came 2 months later. David came home from work dark as a storm cloud. What happened? Ashley asked. Trouble. Management isn't happy with my numbers. They said if I don't improve, they'll fire me. Ashley hugged him and started comforting him. She offered to help, to look over his reports, to give advice on working with clients. David brushed her off. I'll handle it. But he didn't. A month later, he got fired. David came home in the middle of the day and tossed a box of his things onto the table. That's it. They kicked me out. David. Ashley didn't know what to say. It's fine. I'll find another job. But David wasn't in a hurry to look for one. Day after day he sat at home, watching TV, playing computer games. When Ashley got back from work, he was lying on the couch in the exact same position she'd left him in that morning. Did you look at job postings today? She asked carefully. I did. Nothing suitable. Ashley checked the browser history on the computer. There were no job sites. Just YouTube and gaming forums. She decided to have a serious talk with him. David, this can't go on. It's been a month. You have to look for work. I am, he snapped. Why are you on my case? You're not. I saw your browser history. David flared up. Are you spying on me? I'm worried about us, about our future. Here's the thing, don't tell me what to do. It's my life. Ashley was stunned. She had never seen David like this. Angry. Aggressive. David, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just leave me alone. He grabbed his jacket and bolted out of the apartment. He came back only at dawn. Drunk. That was their first serious fight, but far from the last. David's unemployment dragged on for 3 months. During that time, Ashley learned a lot about him. It turned out he hadn't been fired over poor performance, but because of a conflict with management. David had mouthed off to his boss in a meeting, and the boss didn't forgive it. Why didn't you tell me right away? Ashley asked. I didn't want to upset you. Ashley sighed. A lie. That was what she couldn't stand. The lying. In the end, David did find a job. Not as good as the previous one, with a lower salary, but still. Life seemed to start getting back on track. By then they'd been together for over a year. One evening, David came home with a bouquet of flowers and a strange, secretive look on his face. Ashley, we need to talk. She tensed up. The phrase "we need to talk" usually didn't mean anything good. What's going on? David dropped to one knee and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Ashley, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Will you marry me? Ashley's heart skipped one beat, then another. She stared at the ring, simple, silver, with a tiny stone, and couldn't believe it. Yes, she breathed. David slid the ring onto her finger and hugged her. Ashley cried from happiness. For the third time in her life, they decided not to put the wedding off. 2 months later, simple, without big celebrations. Just close friends and relatives. Gloria arrived a week before the wedding and brought a surprise with her daughter Marina. Marina Cooper was 3 years younger than David. A girl of unclear occupation, as Ashley's grandmother would have put it. She didn't work, didn't study, lived with her mother, and, judging by everything, wasn't planning to change anything about her life. Marina will stay with you until the wedding, Gloria announced. She's not staying at a hotel. Ashley wanted to argue the apartment was small, there wasn't much space, but David cut in first. Of course, Mom, no problem. That's when Ashley learned that her opinion in this home meant nothing. The week before the wedding turned into hell. Gloria and Marina acted like they owned someone else's house. They rearranged things, criticized the renovation, ordered Ashley around. Ashley, make us coffee, Marina said, sprawled on the couch. Ashley, why don't you have decent dishes? Gloria complained. Ashley, there's dust in the corner, Marina pointed out. Ashley put up with it. Teeth clenched, silently put up with it. For David, for their future family. The wedding took place at City Hall on a Saturday morning. No white gowns and limos. Ashley wore a simple light-colored dress. David wore a suit they picked out together at the store. After the ceremony, a small reception at a restaurant for 20 people. Ashley's parents came from Riverside. Her mother cried from happiness. Her father firmly shook his new son-in-law's hand. Take care of her, he told David. She's all we have. I will, David promised. Gloria was in her element at the wedding. She managed to ruin even that day. First, she loudly commented on the bride's dress. You could have dressed up a little more. Then she criticized the restaurant. And you call this a table? And at the end, she made a scene when she didn't get enough attention. David, you've completely forgotten your mother, she moaned. All you think about is your Ashley. Ashley watched it and thought, what am I doing? Why am I marrying him? But it was too late. The stamp was already in her passport. After the wedding, Gloria and Marina finally left. Ashley breathed easier. Now they could start a normal married life. But a normal married life never happened. Literally a week after her mother-in-law left, Marina called. Ashley, hi. Listen, can you lend me $1,500? I'll give it back next month, I swear. Ashley was thrown off. Marina, we barely know each other. And that kind of money. Oh, come on. We're family now. Relatives are supposed to help each other. Ashley didn't know what to say. She looked at David, who was sitting next to her. Give it to her, he said. She'll pay you back. Ashley gave it to her. $1,500 from her savings. Marina, of course, didn't pay it back. Not after a month, not after 2. When Ashley tried to remind her about the debt, Marina simply stopped answering her calls. David, your sister owes me, Ashley told her husband. Let it go, he waved it off. Marina's in a tough spot right now, she doesn't have money, she'll pay you back later. When later? She doesn't work, she'll never have money. So what? She's my sister. Don't be so greedy. Greedy. He called her greedy. Her the one carrying the mortgage, paying most of the bills, feeding him for 3 months while he sat unemployed. Ashley felt something inside her crack. But she swallowed it again. Because family? Because marriage? Because that's what you're supposed to do. A year passed since the wedding. The situation didn't improve. David worked, but his salary barely covered his own expenses. Gas, lunches, some kind of guy fun. All the major costs, the mortgage, utilities, groceries, were on Ashley. David, we need to make a family budget, she suggested one day. Why? So we understand where the money goes. I can't carry everything by myself. What, you think I'm mooching off you? David immediately went on the defensive. No, but. I work, I bring money home. And you're always unhappy. The conversation ended in a fight. As usual. Gloria called every week. And every time it came down to the same thing, criticizing Ashley. David, she doesn't feed you properly. That was after Ashley bought frozen meals because she didn't have time to cook with her workload. David, she doesn't respect you. That was after Ashley asked her husband to take out the trash. David, she's squeezing you dry. That was after Ashley suggested they pay the mortgage together. David listened to his mother and grew more and more distant from his wife. He stopped helping around the house, stopped asking about her day, stopped saying sweet things. In the evenings he sat at the computer or in front of the TV, and Ashley existed somewhere on the edge of his life. David, let's go somewhere, she suggested. A movie or a restaurant? Like we used to? I don't feel like it. I'm tired. He was always tired. Too tired for walks, for conversations, for intimacy, but not too tired for computer games and hanging out with friends. Ashley felt lonely. Lonely inside her own marriage, inside her own home. She worked, paid the bills, cleaned the apartment, cooked meals, and did it all almost alone. Her husband had turned into another child she was expected to take care of. Mom, I don't know what to do, she complained over the phone. Be patient, sweetheart, her mother replied. All men are like that. It'll smooth out with time. But it didn't smooth out. It only got worse. In their second year of marriage, something happened that changed everything. Ashley had suspected for a while that something was off. David started coming home later, and sometimes he smelled like perfume Ashley didn't wear. He constantly hid his phone, stepped into another room to take calls. One night, while David was asleep, Ashley took his phone. She had never done that before. She considered it beneath her. But her intuition wouldn't let her rest. She knew his passcode. She'd seen it by accident once when he unlocked the screen. She opened his messages and found what she was afraid to find. A chat with a woman named Christine. Hundreds of messages. Photos. Love confessions. Plans for the future. Baby, I'm going to divorce her soon. I promise. I just need time. You're my whole life. With you I finally learned what real love is. When we're together, I'll be the happiest man alive. Ashley sat in the dark, staring at the screen, and felt nothing. Nothing at all. No tears, no meltdown, just emptiness. She put the phone back and lay down again. She didn't close her eyes until morning. In the morning, when David woke up, Ashley was sitting in the kitchen. A cup of cold coffee stood in front of her. Hey, he yawned. Why are you up so early? David, sit down. He looked at her, surprised, but sat. What's going on? Who is Christine? David went pale. Then turned red. Then went pale again. What are you talking about? I saw the messages. Don't lie. He was silent for a few seconds. Then he lowered his eyes. Ashley, I can explain everything. Don't. I want a divorce. The words slipped out on their own. Ashley didn't even know she was going to say them. But the moment they left her mouth, she felt relief. Huge, indescribable relief. What? David jumped up. What divorce? Over some messages? Not just over her. Nothing happened. We were just texting. I saw the photos too. David went quiet. I want you to move out, Ashley continued. This is my apartment. You have 2 weeks to pack. Ashley, wait. Let's talk. There's nothing to talk about. I've decided. The next 2 weeks turned into a nightmare. David swung between begging her to forgive him, threatening her, and trying to guilt-trip her. Gloria called, screaming into the phone that Ashley was ruining her baby boy's life. Even Marina called after avoiding Ashley for a year because she hadn't paid her back. But Ashley wouldn't budge. She filed for divorce, waited through the required reconciliation period, and got her freedom. The stamp in her passport was voided. Only one thing was left, waiting for David to move out. He dragged it out to the very end, kept making excuses, but there was nowhere to go. The apartment was in Ashley's name, and the law was on her side. A week before David was supposed to move out for good, Ashley got a call from work. Ashley, we've got an urgent business trip. A month, maybe a month and a half. Detroit, can you do it? She could. She even wanted to. Far away from all this chaos. Detroit sounded perfect. David, I'm leaving on a business trip, she told him. For a month. When I get back, you can't be here. Fine, he muttered. I'll move out. She packed and left. The trip dragged on to a month and a half. The project was more complicated than expected. Ashley worked 12-hour days, collapsed from exhaustion at night, and thought about nothing except work. And then her neighbor called. Ashley, listen. There are some people living in your apartment. An older woman and some young girl. They're loud in the evenings, they turn on music. I thought you knew. Ashley went cold. What people? My ex-husband is supposed to be the only one there. I haven't seen your guy in a long time. But those two are in and out every day. Ashley hung up and started throwing her things into a bag. The first train back to Chicago. To hell with the project, to hell with the job, what was happening in her apartment. The whole way there she couldn't calm down. She called David, he didn't answer. She texted nothing. What was going on in there? And now she was standing at the door to her own apartment. Her key didn't fit, the lock had been changed. Voices came from inside. Her mother-in-law's voice, and Marina's. Ashley slowly raised her hand and rang the doorbell. For a full minute, nothing happened. Then footsteps, a click of the lock, and the door opened. Gloria stood there. In a robe and slippers. Like she lived there. What the hell are you doing here? She said instead of hello. Ashley stared at her in silence. Then she looked past her, deeper into the apartment. There, in the hallway, were boxes. Her boxes. With her things. And by the closet, Marina was fussing around, tossing clothes off the shelves. What is going on here? Ashley's voice came out unexpectedly calm. Nothing special, Gloria snorted. We live here now. David said we could. Ashley took a deep breath, let it out, and said, here's how this is going to go. I don't know what David told you, but this is my apartment. It's in my name. I bought it before the marriage. You have exactly 5 minutes to grab your stuff and get out. After that, I'm calling the police. Gloria burst out laughing. The police? Who's going to listen to you? We've been living here a month. For minutes, Ashley said, pulling out her phone. Her mother-in-law's laughter died. You wouldn't dare. 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Fear flashed in Gloria's eyes for the first time since Ashley had met her. Marina, she yelled. Get your things. This one's crazy, she's calling the police. What? Marina ran into the hallway. Ashley, what are you doing? We're family. I didn't get to choose my relatives, Ashley said. But I did choose this apartment. And it's mine. 2 minutes. The next few minutes looked like a scene from a comedy. Gloria and Marina scrambled around the apartment, grabbing their things, cursing up a storm. Ashley stood by the door, silently counting down. That's it, we're leaving. Gloria shouted, dragging a suitcase behind her. But you'll regret this. You'll come crawling back to us on your knees. Don't count on it, Ashley replied, and slammed the door behind them. Then she leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor. Her hands were shaking. Her knees were wobbling. But there was a smile on her face. She'd handled it. Again. Like always. Of course, that wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Because Ashley still didn't know what Gloria had managed to do during that month. Something that threatened to take away everything Ashley had worked so long to build. After the door slammed shut behind her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Ashley sat on the hallway floor for a few more minutes. Her legs wouldn't hold her. The adrenaline that had carried her through that confrontation drained away, leaving only emptiness and exhaustion. Finally, she got up and looked around the apartment. What she saw made her heart tighten. The place was unrecognizable. Not in the sense of being trashed, no. Everything was relatively clean and picked up. But it wasn't her apartment anymore. It was someone else's home. The furniture had been moved. Her favorite chair, the one she'd spent so long choosing, was shoved into a corner, piled with some random rags. In its place sat a sagging old couch. Where had they even dragged that in from? The curtains were different too, cheap, olive-colored, with some kind of floral pattern. Her minimalist white curtains were crumpled into a bag by the balcony door. Ashley walked into the kitchen. The picture there was even sadder. Her dishes, the beautiful white set she'd bought one plate at a time over several years, were gone. In their place, the cabinets held mismatched cups and plates with chipped edges. The small appliances, her blender, toaster, coffee maker, had vanished too. The bedroom. Ashley opened the door and froze. Her bed, the good one, orthopedic, bought on credit, was still there. But the bedding was washed down to a dull gray. And in the closet. In the closet hung someone else's clothes. Gloria's and Marina's. Her own clothes had been dumped into the box she'd seen in the hallway. Ashley opened one of the boxes. On top was her favorite blouse, torn clean in half. Under it was the dress she'd worn to get married. Also ruined, with stains that had clearly been left on purpose. She went through item after item. Half of it was hopelessly damaged, the other half just thrown in any old way, crumpled, wrinkled. Ashley sat down on the floor in the middle of the room and, for the first time all day, she cried. She wasn't crying over "you could buy new things." She was crying from the realization of how much these people hated her. Her own mother-in-law. Her sister-in-law. The people she had tried to accept as family. The people she'd endured humiliation and insults for. They came into her home and destroyed everything they could get their hands on. Not out of need, out of pure spite. Ashley cried for about 20 minutes. Then she wiped her tears, splashed her face with cold water, and started making a list. She had always been practical, even in the hardest moments. First assess the damage, then decide what to do. The list was long. Missing appliances: coffee maker, blender, toaster, iron. Missing dishes: a 12-person set, a set of wine glasses, pots and pans. Ruined clothing: 23 items, including a winter coat that had cost her a full month's salary. Ruined bedding. Missing towels. And that was only what she'd noticed during a quick look around. Ashley photographed everything on her phone. Every ruined item, every empty cabinet. If it went to court, and she already understood that it would, she would need evidence. Then she called the police. The dispatcher listened with total indifference. "So they've already moved out?" "Yes, I kicked them out." "Well, then that's that. Conflict resolved." "But they stole my things and ruined my clothes." "Ma'am, that's a civil matter. File in court. We don't handle those." "What about illegal entry? Did they have keys?" "Yes, but..." "Then it's not illegal entry. The keys were given to them by your ex-husband, who, at the moment he gave them out, still had the right to live there. Handle it through civil court." Ashley hung up. Her hands were shaking with powerless rage. She dialed David. This time he answered. "What do you want?" "David, your mother and sister were living in my apartment. They stole my things and ruined my clothes. And what do you want from me?" "What do you mean, what?" "It's your family. You gave them the keys." "I gave them the keys so they could help me pack. Whatever they did after that isn't my problem." "Not your problem?" "They lived in my apartment for a month." "Ashley, we're divorced. Your apartment, your problems. Deal with it yourself." He hung up. Ashley stared at her phone, unable to believe it. Was this the same man who swore he loved her? Who promised to protect her? Who said she was the best thing that ever happened to him? But what was there to be surprised about? He had shown his true face before. She just hadn't wanted to see it. That night Ashley slept on the couch. She couldn't bring herself to lie down in the bed those women had slept in. Sleep wouldn't come. She lay in the dark and thought about what to do next. In the morning, she called work and asked for a few more days. She explained the situation, and her boss was understanding. Then she went to a legal clinic. The lawyer, a young man in glasses, listened to her story and shook his head. "It's unpleasant, but not hopeless. You can file a claim for damages. Do you have photos of the ruined property? Yes, I took pictures of everything. Good. Do you have receipts for the stolen items? Some, yes. I bought the appliances recently, I kept the receipts. Great. Then you have a chance. But I have to warn you, the process will be long. And there's no guarantee you'll actually be able to get money, even if you win. If the defendants have no assets and no official income. They don't, Ashley said darkly. My mother-in-law is on a pension, and my sister-in-law doesn't work. The lawyer spread his hands. Then it'll be a Pyrrhic victory. You'll most likely win in court, but you won't be able to collect anything in reality. Ashley left the office feeling crushed. So these people could do whatever they wanted, and nothing would happen to them? She walked down the street, lost in gloomy thoughts, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Ashley Frost? Yes, this is she. We're calling from First National Bank. You are the guarantor on David Cooper's loan. Unfortunately, the borrower has missed payments. Under the guarantor agreement, we have to contact you. Ashley stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. People flowed around her, grumbling, but she didn't notice. Wait, what loan? What guarantor agreement? I didn't sign anything. The guarantor agreement was about 4 years ago for the amount of $35,000. Your signature is on the document. That's impossible. I never signed any documents. Ashley, I understand you're upset, but the fact remains. If you believe the signature is forged, you can go to court. Meanwhile, the debt is growing. As of today, it's $23,000, including interest and penalties. Ashley felt the ground drop out from under her. $23,000. From where? Send me a copy of the agreement, she said, trying to keep her voice from shaking. To my email. Okay, give me the address. Half an hour later, Ashley was sitting in a cafe, studying the document they'd sent. The agreement. The guarantee. Her passport details. Her signature. The signature looked like the real thing. Very close. But Ashley knew for sure she hadn't signed it. For years ago, she and David had only just started dating. She would never have agreed to be a guarantor on his loan. Especially not back then, when they weren't even living together. Which meant the signature was forged. But how could she prove it? Ashley dialed the lawyer she'd seen that morning. It's Frost again. I have a new problem. I think my ex-husband forged my signature on a loan guarantor agreement. The lawyer let out a low whistle. That's more serious. That's a criminal case. Fraud and document forgery. Come in, we'll deal with it. The next few days turned into endless running around. Police, bank, police again, and Ashley filed a fraud report and provided samples of her signature for comparison. The expert, an older woman with tired eyes, studied the documents for several days. Finally, she issued her conclusion. The signature on the guarantor agreement was not made by Frost A, but by another person imitating her signature. It was a win. Small, but important. The police opened a criminal case. David was called in for questioning. Of course, he denied everything. Said Ashley had signed it herself and now was trying to dodge responsibility. But an expert report was an expert report. The case will be investigated, the detective said, a young guy with a close-cropped haircut. But I have to warn you, it's not a fast process. And even if we prove your ex-husband's guilt, he's unlikely to get real time. Most likely probation or a fine. I don't need him in prison, Ashley replied. I need that guarantor agreement taken off me. That will be decided in court. If the expert report the signature forged and it already has the agreement will be declared invalid. It was at least some hope, but the problems didn't end there. A week after Ashley returned to Chicago, her neighbor called, the same one who'd warned her about the unwanted guests. Ashley, some people came by for you. 2 men, pretty solid looking. They asked when you're usually home. What people? What did they look like? Well, serious looking. In black jackets. One bald, the other with a beard. I told them I didn't know anything, and they left. Ashley went cold. Collectors. But she didn't know the bank. The expert report proved the signature was forged. Or was this about something else? She called the bank. They said they hadn't set any collectors. The case had been transferred to court, and until the court decision, there would be no collection actions. So who were those men? She got the answer faster than she expected. That evening, when Ashley was coming home from work, they met her by the building entrance. The same two, bald and bearded. Ashley? Bald asked, stepping into her path. Yes. And who are you? We're from Raymond. Your ex-hubby owes him 15 grand. And for some reason, he said you'd pay. Ashley's stomach dropped. I don't owe any Raymond anything. And I'm not responsible for my ex-husband's debts. Explain that to him, Bearded snorted. But for now, you've got a week. 15,000. Or else. He trailed off meaningfully. Are you threatening me? Us? No, what are you talking about? We're just letting you know. And you decide what you want to do. They turned and walked away. Ashley stood by the entrance, unable to move. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was war. She went upstairs, walked into her apartment, and sat down to think. Okay. What did she have? An ex-husband who'd gotten himself into debt to a bank and to some shady people. He dumped the responsibility on her. His mother and sister had looted her apartment. And now some thugs were demanding money. What was she supposed to do? Her first impulse was to call the police. But what would she even tell them? Two men walked up to her on the street and said she owed money? No direct threats, no violence. The cops wouldn't even bother talking to her. Her second impulse was to pack up and leave. Anywhere. Back to her parents in Riverside. Or farther. But that would mean abandoning everything: her job, her apartment, the life she'd spent years building. Running from problems she hadn't created. No. Ashley Frost wasn't used to running. She pulled out her phone and called David. This time he didn't answer. She called again. And again. On the fifth try, he finally picked up. What do you want? Who is Raymond? Silence. Long, telling silence. How do you know that name? His people came to me. They said you owe him 15,000. And for some reason, you told them I'd pay? Silence again. Ashley, listen. No, you listen. I don't know what you've gotten yourself into, and I don't want to know. But I'm not paying your debts. Not to the bank, not to this Raymond, not to anyone. Do you understand? Ashley, you don't get it. Raymond is a serious guy. If you don't pay, then you pay. Those are your debts. I don't have the money. Desperation broke through in David's voice. I thought I could win it back, but... Win it back? What, were you in a casino? Poker. Online. I thought I could. It doesn't matter. The point is, I owe Raymond, and he's not the kind of person you can negotiate with. Ashley closed her eyes. Poker. Online poker. Her ex-husband was a gambling addict. That's where the $35,000 loan came from. That's where the debt to Raymond came from. That's why he hadn't looked for a job when he got fired. He'd been sitting there playing. David, those are your problems. I'm not fixing them. But they'll come to you. They know where you live. Then go to the police. File a report. Are you insane? Raymond will kill me. And I'm supposed to pay for you? Why? Because you can. You've got an apartment, a job. And I've got nothing. Ashley laughed bitterly, with no humor in it. So I'm supposed to sell the apartment I earned myself to cover your gambling debt? Are you serious? Ashley, I'm asking you. No. The answer is no. Deal with it yourself. She hung up and turned off her phone. Her hands were shaking. That night Ashley didn't sleep. She lay in the dark and thought. The situation was bad, really bad. She understood those men weren't joking. If David truly owed money to criminals, they weren't going to back off. But she wasn't going to pay. First, she didn't have $15,000. Everything went to the mortgage and basic living. Second, it was a matter of principle. She hadn't created these problems. She wasn't going to solve them. In the morning, Ashley went to the police station and filed a report. She described the visit from the two men, their words, their implied threats. The officer took the report without enthusiasm. Did they threaten you with physical harm? Not directly, but they hinted. Hints aren't threats. It'll be hard to prove anything. I understand. But at least let it be on record. Fine. We'll document it. Ashley left the station with the feeling that report wouldn't do much. But it was something. The next few days passed intense. Ashley went to work, came home, and every time she looked around carefully. No men in black jackets so far. On the fifth day, her mother called. Sweetheart, some people came by here asking about you. Where you live, where you work. Ashley went cold. What people, Mom? Well, like that. In a nice, expensive car. Said they were from Chicago. I didn't tell them anything, of course, but they seemed to know everything anyway. They tracked down her parents. That was too much. Mom, if they show up again, call the police. And don't go anywhere alone. Sweetheart, what's going on? Did you get yourself into something? No, Mom. David did. And I'm the one dealing with it. She explained the situation to her mother briefly, without extra details. Her mother gasped and fretted, moaning that she'd told her not to marry him, but overall she took it calmly and promised to be careful. After that call, Ashley made a decision. She had to do something. Waiting for those people to get bored and go away was stupid. They weren't going to go away. She called the lawyer again. I have a new problem. I think my ex-husband owes money to some people. And they're trying to collect the debt from me. The lawyer listened and sighed. Ashley, that's not my specialty. You need a criminal defense attorney. And maybe security. I can recommend a colleague. The colleague turned out to be a man in his 50s, with gray at his temples and a sharp, assessing stare. His name was Richard Morrison, and he gave the impression of someone who'd seen a lot in life. So extortion, he said after hearing Ashley out. Serious charge. Up to 7 years. But to open a case, you need evidence. Recorded conversations, witnesses, something concrete. I have a neighbor who saw those men. That's good, but it's not much. Did they say anything specific? Threaten you? They said I had a week and that the decision was mine. Vague. Any lawyer could get them off, say they just wanted to talk, nothing criminal. So what am I supposed to do? Richard thought for a moment. There are a few options. First, pay. I don't recommend it, because it won't be the end, it'll be the beginning. You pay once, they'll demand more. I'm definitely not paying. Good. Second option, negotiate. Get to this, Raymond, explain the situation, that you have nothing to do with your ex-husband's debts. Sometimes it works. And if it doesn't? Then the third option, push back. Gather evidence, file reports, draw attention. Make it so it's not for them to mess with you. Ashley thought. The third option. All right. Then we start by putting a camera at your door. If they come again, we'll have video. Then, over the next few days, Ashley followed Richard's plan. She installed a camera, small, discreet, with cloud recording. She carried a voice recorder in case she got stopped on the street again. She filed another police report, noting that the threats were continuing. The week they'd given her passed. Then another week. The men in black jackets didn't show up. Ashley started to hope they'd backed off. But she was wrong. On Saturday morning, as she was coming back from the store, an unfamiliar man was waiting for her by the entrance. He didn't look like a thug, quite the opposite, actually. In an expensive coat and good shoes. Ashley Frost, he asked politely. Yes, and you? My name is Raymond. I think you've heard of me. Ashley froze. So this was Raymond. Not at all what she expected. More like a businessman or some kind of official. I have, she said, trying to keep her voice calm. And I want to say right away I have nothing to do with my ex-husband's debts. I know, Raymond smiled. That's why I came to talk to you personally. Can we sit somewhere? It's cold out here. Ashley hesitated. On one hand, going anywhere with this man was dangerous. On the other, he came alone, without his guys, and he seemed perfectly reasonable. The cafe across the street, she said. It's crowded. Perfect. They sat at a table by the window. Raymond ordered coffee, Ashley ordered tea. For a moment, they were silent. So, Raymond began, let's be honest. Your ex-husband owes me money. $15,000. Plus late interest another $4,000. $19,000 total. That's his debt, not mine. Technically, yes. But David is in a position right now where there's nothing to take from him. No job, no assets, no future. And you are a successful, independent woman. An apartment, a job, income. So what? I'm supposed to pay for a man who cheated on me and robbed me? Raymond lifted an eyebrow. Robbed you? His mother and sister carried out about $7,000 worth of my stuff. And on top of that, he forged my signature on a loan agreement. That's another $35,000. Interesting, Raymond leaned back in his chair. So you're the victim here? Exactly. Then I have an offer for you. He leaned forward. I'll forget David's debt. Completely. And I'll never bother you again. Ashley tensed. In exchange for what? Information. Who he worked with, who he played with, where he got the money. I need information, Ashley. She stared at him, trying to figure out where the trap was. Why do you need that? David isn't the only one who owes me, Raymond said. There's a whole network of, let's say, unreliable borrowers. They pass contacts around, recommend a reliable lender, and then they don't pay. I need to understand how this scheme works. And you want me to sell out my ex-husband? I want you to help yourself, Raymond shrugged. You don't owe David anything. He betrayed you, used you, set you up. Why would you protect him? Ashley was silent. On one hand, the offer was tempting. On the other, she had no idea what she'd be stepping into. I need to think, she said at last. Of course. Here's my card. Raymond placed a white rectangle of cardstock on the table. Call me when you decide. But don't drag it out too long. My patience isn't unlimited. He stood up, left cash for the coffee, and walked out. Ashley sat there, staring at the card. Raymond Ellis. Financial consultant. Financial consultant, huh? A nice cover for a loan shark. She called Richard and told him about the meeting. Interesting, the attorney said. So he wants information. That changes things. How? In the sense that now you have leverage. He needs you more than you need him. So what do I do? Nothing for now. Don't call him, don't agree, don't refuse. Let him sweat. And meanwhile I'll dig around and find out who this Raymond Ellis really is and what he actually does. Ashley followed his advice. A week passed, then another. Raymond didn't call or show up. His guys didn't bother her either. It seemed like everything had gone quiet. But Ashley celebrated too soon. In the middle of the month, the detective handling the forged signature case called her. Ashley, we have a problem. Your ex-husband filed a countercomplaint. He claims you forced him to take the loan, and now you're trying to avoid responsibility. What? That's insane. I understand, but procedure says we have to check his statement. You'll need to come in for questioning. The interview was humiliating. The detective asked questions that implied Ashley was the one committing fraud. She answered, furious at herself for the way her voice shook. You claim you didn't sign the guarantor agreement. But your ex-husband says you did. Who are we supposed to believe? The expert report. The signature is forged, that's proven. An expert can be wrong. The defense can challenge the conclusion. Then order a second examination. That will be up to the court. Ashley walked out with a headache and a feeling of hopelessness. David was counterattacking. Instead of admitting guilt, he was trying to dump it all on her. She called Richard. That was to be expected, he said. Classic tactic: bury the other side in counterclaims. But don't worry, the expert report is a serious argument. It's hard to overturn. And if he does? Then we keep fighting. Ashley, I told you truth is on your side. It's a long process, but you'll win. Easy for him to say, you'll win. She was the one living in this nightmare every day. A few days later, Raymond called. Ashley, have you thought about my offer? I'm thinking. Don't take too long. I found out your ex-husband is trying to shift the blame onto you. If this goes to court, you'll need a good attorney. And good attorneys are expensive. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. I can help you with an attorney for free in exchange for that information. Ashley hesitated. She already had an attorney, Richard. But extra help wouldn't hurt. What specific information do you want? Names, contacts, sites where David played, people he talked to. Everything you know. I don't know much. We got divorced because he was hiding his life from me. Then remember. Maybe you overheard calls, saw messages, anything. Ashley searched her memory. She really had heard a few things. Names David had mentioned on the phone. A site that had been open on his computer when she happened to glance at it. Okay, she said. I'll tell you what I remember. But first you pull your people away from my parents. What people? Don't play dumb. People came to my parents in Riverside. Your people. A pause. That was a misunderstanding. My employees took initiative. I'll talk to them. Don't talk to them, guarantee they won't show up again. I guarantee it. They met again at the same cafe. Ashley told him everything she remembered. Names: Sean, Kyle, Aaron. A website, some poker room with an English name. Talk about a big game and a sure thing. Raymond listened, took notes, nodded. Thank you. That's useful. Now it's my turn. The attorney will contact you tomorrow. His name is Thomas Peterson. He specializes in cases like this. So my debt to you is closed? And you won't bother me again? I won't. I have no claims against you personally, only against your ex-husband. What are you going to do to him? Raymond smiled coldly. That's not your concern. And he left. Ashley sat there, thinking about what she'd just done. She'd sold out her ex-husband, the man she once loved. The man she'd planned a life with. But he betrayed her first. Cheated, robbed her, set her up. Why was she supposed to stay silent? Thomas Peterson really was an excellent attorney. He took the case with energy and precision. Filed a motion for a second handwriting exam, which again confirmed the signature was forged. Got David's countercomplaint thrown out as baseless. The case moved slowly but steadily toward a win. And then something happened that no one expected. One ordinary evening, Ashley was at home watching TV. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Ashley Frost? Yes. This is Sergeant Johnson. Police precinct number. Do you know David Cooper? That's my ex-husband. What happened? David Cooper was found dead. You need to come in for identification. Her world collapsed. Ashley didn't remember how she got to the morgue. Didn't remember signing papers. She remembered only one thing: David's face under the white sheet. Pale, waxy, lifeless. Cause of death, she asked. Overdose. Narcotics. There's an investigation. Drugs. David had never used drugs. At least, that's what she thought. But what did she even know about him? The next days passed like a blur. The funeral, modest, paid for by Gloria. Ashley went, even though she wasn't sure they wanted her there. She stood off to the side, watched the coffin being lowered. Gloria spotted her by the cemetery fence. You killed him, she whispered. You drove him to death. You divorced him, kicked him out, hounded him. He got into debt because of you. Ashley stayed silent. What was she supposed to say? I hope you suffer, her mother-in-law went on. I hope you torture yourself for the rest of your life. You're a murderer. She spit in Ashley's direction and walked away. Marina followed, shooting Ashley hateful looks. Ashley turned and walked off. Inside, there was nothing. No emotion. No grief, no relief, no guilt. Just emptiness. That evening, Raymond called. "My condolences," he said. "I heard about David." "Was it you?" Ashley asked bluntly. "What was me?" "You killed him." A pause. "Ashley, I'm a financial consultant, not a murderer. David died of an overdose. That's what the police say. I had nothing to do with it. But you wanted to punish him. I wanted my money back. Those are different things. You don't get money back from the dead." He hung up. Ashley sat in the dark, wondering whether to believe him or not. Coincidence or murder? She never learned the truth. The investigation dragged on half-heartedly and was eventually closed. The official version was an accident and overdose. No signs of violence, no suspects. Maybe it really was an accident. Maybe David, cornered by debts and problems, decided to try something new. Something to help him forget. And miscalculated the dose. Or maybe someone helped him. Raymond, or someone else he owed money to. Ashley would never know. And maybe that was for the best. A month passed after the funeral. The case about the forged signature was closed due to the death of the accused. The bank wrote off the debt. There was no one to collect from. The extortionists disappeared. Apparently, they realized they wouldn't get any money. Ashley was left alone. With the apartment she had almost lost. With the job she had miraculously kept. With the memory of a marriage that had ended so terribly. In the evening, she sat by the window and looked at the city lights. Chicago lived its own life. Indifferent, vast, eternal. Millions of people, millions of stories. Her story was just a drop in that ocean. But she survived. She stood her ground, didn't break. And that was what mattered. Her phone rang. Her mother. "Sweetheart, how are you holding up?" "I'm okay, Mom. Managing. Maybe you'll come visit us this weekend? Your dad promised to bake pies." Ashley smiled. "For the first time in a long while." "I'll come, Mom. I definitely will." She hung up and looked out the window again. Tomorrow would be a new day. And the day after. And next week, and next month. Life goes on. Which means you have to keep living. But the story didn't end there. Because 3 months after David's death, Ashley received a letter from a notary. A letter that turned everything upside down and made her question everything she thought she knew about her ex-husband. The letter came in a plain white envelope with no markings. Ashley pulled it out of the mailbox along with utility bills and junk mail. She was about to throw it away, but noticed the stamp of a notary office. "Dear Ashley Frost, we hereby inform you that you are a beneficiary under the will of Citizen David Cooper. Please appear at the notary office at the following address." Ashley read the letter 3 times. A beneficiary? What inheritance? David had nothing. No apartment, no car, no savings. Just debts. She called the number listed and scheduled an appointment. The notary turned out to be an elderly man with a gray goatee and thin-rimmed glasses. He seated Ashley across from him and opened a folder of documents. "So, Ashley, David Cooper drew up a will 2 weeks before his death. He named you as the sole beneficiary. But we were divorced. That doesn't matter. A testator has the right to leave property to anyone." "What property?" "He had nothing." The notary adjusted his glasses. "You're mistaken. David owned a share in TechStart LLC, 20% of the company. The company develops mobile applications. According to the latest valuation, the value of his share is about $220,000. Ashley felt the floor drop out from under her. $220,000? From where? He became a partner in the company 4 years ago. He invested initial capital of $35,000. 4 years ago. They had only just started dating back then. David had never mentioned any company, any investment. Wait. Ashley rubbed her temples. He took out a loan for $35,000 and forged my signature as a guarantor. Are those the same money? The notary shrugged. The origin of the funds is not within my competence. I only handle the inheritance. Ashley sat there, trying to process it all. David took out a loan with forged documents, invested the money in a startup, and kept quiet about it throughout their entire marriage. Why? For what? There's one more thing, the notary continued. A letter is attached to the will. A personal one for you. He handed her a sealed envelope. Ashley recognized David's handwriting on the name Ashley. She opened the envelope right there in the notary's office. Inside were 2 pages covered in small handwriting. Ashley, if you're reading this letter, then I'm already gone. You're probably angry with me. You have every right to be. I did a lot of things and I understand I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know the truth. For years ago, I met a guy named Alex. He was developing an app, something related to food delivery. I don't really understand that stuff. He needed money to launch. He promised that in a couple of years the investment would pay off tenfold. I believed him. I took out a loan. Yes, I forged your signature. I know it was low. But I was sure I'd pay the money back before you ever found out. I wanted to surprise you. Can you imagine? You come home, and I say, honey, we have $220,000 now. Stupid, right? I was always stupid. The app took off. The company started making a profit. But I couldn't cash out my share. According to the contract, it could only be sold after 5 years. And I needed money now. The bank wanted payments. Raymond wanted payments. Everyone wanted payments. Yes, I got into poker. I thought I'd win and cover all the debts. I lost even more. Classic. And then you found out about Christine. And everything fell apart. Christine, by the way, meant nothing. I just felt like such a loser next to you. You're successful, strong, you achieved everything on your own. And I'm a perpetual debtor who can't even make loan payments on time. Christine looked at me like I was a hero. I needed that. Stupid, right? After the divorce, things got even worse. Mom came to help. You know what she's like. Marina too. They decided your apartment was ours by right now. I tried to stop them, but... Okay, I won't lie. I didn't really try that hard. I didn't care anymore. I already understood there was no way out. Raymond made it clear his patience was running out. I don't know what he was planning, but nothing good. So I made a will. The only valuable thing I have is my share in the company. In a year, it can be sold. I wanted it to go to you. Not to Mom, not to Marina, to you. Because you're the only one who deserves it. Consider this an apology. Or compensation. Or just a last gift from a man who truly loved you, but was too weak to show it. Forgive me, if you can. David. P.S. Alex's phone number. He's a good guy, he'll help you sort out the paperwork. Ashley folded the letter and sat in silence for a long time. The notary tactfully didn't interrupt. So that's how it was. David hadn't just been wasting money, he was trying to earn it. In his own crooked, foolish way, but he was trying. He wanted to surprise her, to prove that he was worth something too. And in the end, he got so tangled up that there was no way out. She didn't know what to feel. Anger? Pity? Gratitude? Probably all of it at once. What do I need to do to accept the inheritance? She finally asked. The notary explained the procedure: 6 months to formalize the inheritance, then registration of the company's share in her name, and then another year before the share could be sold. Ashley left the office with a folder of documents and a strange sense of unreality. $220,000. Money that could change her life. Money that came from a man who had caused her so much pain. She dialed the number from the letter. Hello? Hi, is this Alex? This is Ashley, David Cooper's ex-wife. A pause. Yes, I've heard about you. David talked about you a lot. I'm very sorry it turned out this way. I received the will. It says I inherit his share in your company. Yes, that's correct. I knew about it, David warned me. We can meet, I'll explain everything. They met that same evening. Alex turned out to be a skinny guy around 30, in glasses and a stretched-out sweater, a typical tech guy. He told her the company story, how they started the two of them in a rented apartment, coding at night, how they looked for investors and got turned down everywhere. David was the first one who believed in us, Alex said. He brought in $35,000. Back then, that was huge money for us. We were able to hire 2 more developers and rent a real office. A year later, the app hit the top charts. Now we have 2 million users. And how much is his share actually worth? By the latest valuation, around $220,000. That's if you sell now. In a year, when the lockup ends, it could be more. We're in talks with a major investor. If the deal goes through, the value could double. $440,000. Ashley felt dizzy. Why didn't he tell me anything? Alex shrugged. David was complicated. Wanted to do everything himself, without help. Said he had something to prove. I didn't really get it. Ashley did. Prove it to her. Then he wasn't a loser. Then he could succeed too. And he had succeeded, he just didn't get the chance to tell her. The next months passed in bureaucratic chaos. Inheritance paperwork, registering the share, endless certificates, and signatures. When Gloria found out about the will, she sued, trying to contest it, to prove her son wasn't in his right mind when he wrote it. The court rejected the claim, and expert evaluation confirmed his legal capacity. At the hearing, Ashley saw her mother-in-law for the first time since the funeral. Gloria had aged 10 years. A gaunt face, dull eyes. Marina sat next to her, looking just as worn down. You took everything from me, Gloria hissed after the session. First my son, now the money. I didn't take anything, Ashley replied calmly. David chose to leave everything to me. Maybe because you and Marina robbed my apartment? We took what belonged to David. My dishes? My clothes? My appliances? Gloria turned away and left. Marina rushed after her, shooting Ashley a look full of hatred. Ashley watched them go without any sense of triumph, just stating a fact. These people had destroyed their relationship with her themselves. And with David too. Maybe if they had supported him instead of pressuring him, things would have turned out differently. But what was the point of guessing now? You couldn't bring the past back. A year flew by unnoticed. Ashley kept working, slowly restoring the apartment after the damage. She bought new appliances, new dishes, threw away everything that reminded her of David except one photo of them together, happy, on the Riverwalk. That photo stayed in a desk drawer. Techstar kept growing. The talks with the investor were successful. A major fund bought a controlling stake. Ashley's share rose in value to $500,000. When the lockup period ended, Alex called her. Ashley, there's a buyer for your share. They're offering $550,000. That's a good price. Ashley thought about it for 3 days. $550,000. She could pay off the mortgage, buy a car, send her parents to a resort. She could even buy a bigger apartment, not downtown, of course, but in a good neighborhood. Or she could keep the share and wait. The company was growing, the price could go even higher. She chose the first option. Money into the account, the share to the buyer. $550,000. More than she had earned in her entire life. The first thing Ashley did was pay off the mortgage. Completely, early. She went to the bank, filled out the paperwork, transferred the money. When the manager handed her the confirmation that the loan was paid off, she almost cried. The apartment was fully hers now, no liens, no debt. Her home. The second thing she did was send her parents to the ocean. For the first time in their lives, they saw the Atlantic in Florida. Before, they could never afford it. Her mother called every day, overflowing with excitement. Sweetheart, it's so beautiful here. Warm water, sunshine, your dad and I feel like newlyweds. Ashley listened and smiled. It was worth everything, just for this. The third thing she did was quit her job. It was an unexpected decision, even for herself. But she'd felt for a long time that she'd outgrown her position. She wanted something new, something of her own. And now, with money in hand, she could take the risk. She opened her own agency, a marketing agency. Small, just 3 people at first. She rented an office in a business center, bought equipment, launched advertising. The first year was hard. Few clients, high expenses. Ashley worked 16 hours a day, like she had back in college. Sometimes it felt like it was all pointless, that she should have just left the money in the bank and not risked it. But she didn't give up. She never did. In the second year, orders started coming in. Small at first, then bigger. One project made it into an industry publication. The agency got noticed. Referrals started coming in, word of mouth spread. By the end of the third year, the agency had 15 employees. The office had to be expanded. Ashley hired an operations manager. She couldn't handle the day-to-day anymore. She turned 32. She was a successful businesswoman, the owner of an apartment and a thriving company. She had everything she dreamed of. Except one thing. Her personal life still wasn't working out. After David, Ashley couldn't trust anyone. There were attempts, short romances, awkward dates. But every time things started to get serious, she pulled back. She was afraid of a repeat. "Ashley, you need a therapist," Helen said, Helen, who had stayed her friend all these years. "You'll end up alone till old age." "Maybe I'm fine being alone." "Fine, maybe. But sad. Isn't it?" Ashley didn't answer. "Sad, yes. But scary too." Everything changed on one ordinary Thursday when a new client came into her office. His name was Matthew. He owned a chain of coffee shops and was looking for an agency to handle promotion. Tall, fair-haired, with an open smile and a calm gaze. Nothing like David, and that was a good thing. The negotiations went well. They signed a contract, exchanged business cards. And a week later, Matthew called. "Ashley, this isn't about work. I'd like to take you out to dinner, if you don't mind." She wanted to say no. Out of habit, automatically. But something stopped her. "Okay," she said. "Why not?" Dinner went well. Then there was another. And another. They started seeing each other. Carefully. Slowly. Ashley kept waiting for a catch, looking for signs of lies or manipulation. But Matthew was just Matthew. No double bottom, no hidden agenda. "You're very tense," he said once. "Always on guard. Did something happen?" Ashley told him her story. All of it, from beginning to end. About David, her mother-in-law, the debts and threats, the will and the money. Matthew listened in silence, then took her hand. "You're strong. Not everyone would have made it through that. Sometimes it feels like I'm still there, in that nightmare. That's normal. Trauma doesn't disappear overnight. But you made it. You won." She won. A strange word. Victory implies an enemy. But who had her enemy been? David? Her mother-in-law? Circumstances? Probably all of it together. And first and foremost, her own fear. After 6 months of dating, Matthew suggested that she move in with him. Ashley refused. Not because she didn't want to, but because she wasn't ready to part with her apartment, her home, the one she had earned herself. "Then I'll move in with you," Matthew said. "If you don't mind." She didn't mind. Living with Matthew turned out to be easy. He didn't demand, didn't pressure, didn't criticize. He helped around the house, took interest in her work, supported her during difficult moments. And most importantly, he respected her boundaries. "You don't have to tell me everything," he would say. "Everyone has a right to personal space." It was nothing like David, with his constant complaints and resentments. A year later, Matthew proposed. No pomp, no ring at the bottom of a glass. He simply said one morning over breakfast, "Ashley, marry me." She looked at him and wondered if she was ready again. After everything she'd been through. "Yes," she said. "I will." They had a modest wedding, with only close friends and family. Ashley's parents came from Riverside, happy and proud. Her mother cried, her father squeezed his new son-in-law's hand. "Take care of her," he told Matthew. "She's all we have." "I will," Matthew promised. And Ashley believed he would keep that promise. After the wedding, they combined their apartment, sold his and expanded hers by buying the neighboring one-bedroom and doing a remodel. It became a spacious 3-bedroom with a view of the park. 2 years later, their son was born. They named him Arthur, after Matthew's grandfather. Ashley looked at the small, wrinkled little face and felt a happiness she had never known before. The agency kept growing. Ashley handed most of the day-to-day operations over to partners, keeping strategic management for herself. She had more time for her family. Arthur turned 1 when Ashley received an unexpected call. "Ashley Frost? This is the police. We found new circumstances in the case of your ex-husband." Her heart skipped. "What circumstances?" "It's better if you come in. There's information we need to tell you in person." At the station, she was met by an older investigator with a tired face. The Cooper case was closed years ago as an accident, but recently new facts came to light. He placed a folder of photographs in front of her. "We arrested a group involved in extortion and illegal lending. During the search, we found records, audio and video. One of them mentions your ex-husband." Ashley listened, feeling her hands grow cold. From the recording, it follows that Cooper's death was not an accident. A drug was slipped into his drink. It was murder. Murder. Not an overdose. Not an accident. Murder. "Who?" she asked. The executor was one of the group members. "The one who ordered it?" The investigator paused. "Raymond Ellis. Do you know him?" Ashley closed her eyes. "Raymond. The financial consultant. The man who had promised to forget the debt in exchange for information." "I do. Ellis has been arrested. He's been charged with organizing the murder and several other crimes. There will be a trial." The trial took place 6 months later. Raymond received 18 years in a maximum security prison. His accomplices got between 5 and 12. Ashley was present when the verdict was read. She watched as they led away the man who had killed her ex-husband. She felt relief, justice, emptiness. All at once. After the trial, Gloria approached her older still, hunched over, with a dead look in her eyes. "You knew?" she asked. "You knew he was murdered?" "No. I only found out now." "But you talked to that Raymond?" "He demanded David's debt. I told him I had nothing to do with it. Then he offered to deal information in exchange for leaving me alone. I agreed. I told him what little I knew." Gloria was silent. Then she said quietly, "All this time I thought it was your fault. His death. That he broke. And it turns out." She didn't finish. She turned and walked away, shuffling her feet. Ashley watched her go. Pity? Yes, probably. That woman had lost her son. Whatever she'd been like, it was a terrible loss. But Ashley wasn't going to comfort her. Too much stood between them. Too much pain. That evening, Ashley sat at home holding Arthur in her arms. Matthew was cooking dinner in the kitchen, humming to himself. Outside the window, the sun was setting, painting the sky pink. "What are you thinking about?" Matthew asked, peeking into the room. "About the past and the future." "And?" Ashley smiled. "That the past is the past. And the future is right here." She kissed her son on the top of his head. "Here, next to me." Matthew came over and hugged them both. "I agree. You have to let the past go." Ashley nodded. Letting go is easy to say. Harder to do. But she was learning. A little every day. David was in the past. His mother and sister too. Raymond was in prison. Debts were closed, scores settled. Life lay ahead. New, real, deserved. And Ashley intended to live it to the fullest. 5 years after these events, Ashley was sitting in her office. Now it was a spacious corner office that took up an entire floor of a business center. The agency had grown into a large company with branches in 3 cities. On her desk stood a photograph. Her, Matthew, and their 2 children, Arthur and little Sophie, who had just turned 2. The phone rang. "Ashley, you have a visitor," the secretary said. "She says she's a relative. Marina Cooper." Ashley froze. Marina. Her sister-in-law. The same one who had thrown her things out into the hallway. Let her in. Marina looked worn down. Thin, gaunt, with dark circles under her eyes. Dressed modestly, almost poorly. "Hello, Ashley." "Hello." "Sit down." Marina perched on the edge of the chair, nervously twisting the strap of her bag. I came to apologize." Ashley waited in silence. "For everything. For the apartment, for the things, for the words. For all of it. I was wrong. Mom and I were wrong." "Why now?" Marina lowered her eyes. "Mom died. 6 months ago. Cancer. Before she passed, she talked a lot. About David, about you, about how everything turned out. She regretted it. A lot." Ashley was silent. Gloria had died. The woman who had poisoned her life for so many years. Strangely, Ashley felt nothing. No joy, no sorrow. Just the fact itself. "I'm alone now," Marina continued. "No job, no money. We had to sell the apartment to pay for treatment. I rent a room. I'm not asking for help," she added quickly. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry, if you can forgive me." Ashley looked at her. 5 years ago, she would have thrown Marina out without listening. But now, "Are you looking for a job?" Marina looked up. "Yes, but without experience, no one will hire me." Ashley thought for a second. Then she took a business card and wrote a few words on the back. "Call this number. Say you're calling from me. They're looking for an office assistant. The work is simple, the pay isn't great, but it's a start." Marina stared at the card in disbelief. You're helping me? After everything?" "I'm not helping you. I'm giving you a chance. Whether you use it or not is up to you." Marina took the card with trembling hands. "Thank you." Thank you." And she left. Ashley watched her go, thinking about the strange turns of fate. Once, that woman had thrown her belongings onto the stairwell. Now she was asking for help. The wheel had turned. As it always does. Ashley walked over to the window. Below, Chicago buzzed with life. Huge, indifferent, eternal. The city that once seemed like an unreachable dream. The city she had conquered. She remembered herself at 23, a girl from Riverside dreaming of her own apartment. She remembered the rented room, the sleepless nights with textbooks, the pennies saved for a down payment. She remembered David as he was in the beginning, and what he became later. She remembered his letter, the last words of a man who loved her in his own way, crookedly, wrongly, but loved her. She remembered her mother-in-law with her poisonous words, Marina with her arrogance, Raymond with his cold smile. All of it had happened. And all of it had passed. And she remained. She stood her ground. She won. Ashley smiled at her reflection in the glass. Life went on. And it was beautiful.